hilarious. I was cracking up, man.
Oh, fucking serious.
That's so true. On the A train, I meet a different group of people every day that I want to just throw off the
Dude,
freaking
my
bridge.
status was on the button today.
No doubt, son. No
It
doubt.
was like my 4 hours a day is just meeting so many new people that I fucking can dislike in the span of a minute.
Oh man, how the hell you 4 hours of your life?
4 hours of my life, Monday to Friday, is spent commuting.
Oh Lord of mercy.
You're such an angry person.
No, I'm not. I'm really not. It was half in jest. Let's say that.
I don't think it was any in
Like,
jest.
who's on the bus sticking their fucking elbow in my ribs? Who's drooling on my fucking shirt? Who's fucking coughing every like 30 seconds? Who's fucking sneezing? It's like, seriously?
It's the Dump and Chase podcast. I mean, I want to tweet out the links. It's obviously
The dumpandchasepodcast.com/live.
very good.
It's
And it's the same
so
link every
simple.
week. There's no new link every week like we used to have. It's one link.
Yeah, you could thank your incompetent podcast director for that.
Well, speaking of that, I think we really need to take the summer and, like I said, I love this show. I just think it deserves a little more. And I know, Shane, you haven't had the time, so bear with me. I'm not saying that. I know you've been working like a dog, and I respect
You
that.
are,
But
no doubt.
I think we need a little more production value out of it. I think we need to make it a little more jazzy. You know?
I think we need to when the season ends and we slow down because we're not going to do the same amount over the summer that we do now.
That's correct.
I think we should meet together
Okay.
and shoot ideas back and forth and jot down ideas and then take it from there and look at how we
What I really believe we need to do, and this is something that I will put upon myself since Andy has taken a lion's share of responsibility and you've done your share with the podcast. I want to talk to some restaurants and some bars to see if they'll sponsor us in some way. But I don't know how that translates to in money. Like, what do I ask this owner of a restaurant to give us for us to mention his restaurant on?
I really want to do a live show from a restaurant like
That'd be awesome.
Scott was saying.
Well, I have an idea. There is a restaurant that's really friendly with me. I go all the time. I go like twice a month. It's called Nana's. It's on Fifth Avenue. It's like 2 blocks from Barclays. It's a Thai restaurant. They have a beautiful backyard. We can do a summer show from there. They'll leave us alone. It's beautiful back there. I'll set it up. I mean, let's just see where the frick the Islanders end up, but I'll set it up after that. And see
Well, they're going to be playing golf in a couple of days.
Yo, let's get this show on the road. I got a lot to talk about. I'm pretty sure Andy does too, so let's go. Come on.
All right, let's do this. Hang on. Hang tight.
Yeah.
Sit tight.
Yeah,
You echoing pieces of shit.
Boychuk to center point, skates the line, switches places with Letty. 10 on the power play. Boychuk shovels it behind the net for Strome. Strome in the left wing corner. Carries to the half wall. Above the left circle. Tavares right dot. Fakes the shot. Comes into the slot. Shoots. They score! The Islanders win it in overtime. 3-2 is the final. And they are mobbing John Tavares in the high slot. Right wing for John Tavares, too far out in front of him. And now Tavares with pressure on Mark Stoll, calls a turnover. Oposo shoots and scores! Kyle Oposo's 100th goal in the NHL gives the Islanders their first lead of the night. 3-2 in the opening minute of period 3.
All your New York Islanders news and expert Islanders analysis from the fourth line in Bridgeport to the first line in Long Island. This is the Dump and Chase podcast. I feel weird being like happy right now. So I'm not going to be all excited when I say thanks for tuning into the Dump and Chase podcast episode 45. Instead, I'm going to sound gloomy and sad and upset because that might have been the worst loss I've seen in a long time.
Andy, I was going to ask you this because you're the only other senior member of this staff of ours.
I'm not sure how I feel about that senior comment, but
Yeah, old man.
Okay. Andy, you've been watching hockey for a very long time.
I have.
Played it, and I wanted to ask you because I believe that Shane hit it right on the money. Let's just hit the ground running.
Sure.
This is the worst loss I've ever seen as an Islander fan.
I'll say this. At around 10:30, my wife, walking around the house with her President's Trophy on her head, said to me, "You look really, really beat. Wow, that game took a lot out of you, didn't it?"
Mm-hmm.
And she said it with empathy. She didn't say it to be a ding dong. She said it with true empathy. And I literally just looked at her and said, "I'm just going to bed."
Mm.
And this morning, it was the first thing on my mind when I woke up. It just harbors back for this fan base a lot of horrid memories. I mean, but then again, the team, the way they played, to me, didn't deserve to be even in a 4-4 position at that point in the game.
But I think that's what hurts so much.
Well, yeah, I mean, they showed a lot of moxie. They showed a lot of, never say quit. They showed a lot of never say die attitude, which is needed if they make the playoffs. And I can't believe I'm saying if at this point. When they make the playoffs, with a asterisk for if. And that's the kind of attitude that's going to be needed. But then again, you can't fall behind in a 4-1 with 10 minutes left in a playoff game either, because the team you're playing is probably going to be a lot sharper than the Philadelphia Flyers. And then Jaro Halak. I said it on this podcast. I'm not going to toot my own horn, but I will just this once. I remember saying this on the podcast about a month and a half ago, and I was speaking to somebody at the Coliseum in the press box about this as well. Remember I said that when the Islanders got down, like let's say 5-1 or 4-1, how Jaro Halak seemed to lose concentration and focus.
Yes.
Give up like a garbage goal or two after that.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened. He's at times he just loses himself mentally, and that's exactly what happened last night. If you look at the replay, and I watched it 97 times, he's not even set when Schenn takes that shot. He's just waiting for the buzzer. And it's just a total lack of concentration. He didn't shy away from it post-game, telling both Arthur Staple and Steven Lorenzo that he takes full responsibility for the loss, which he should have. And then comments by John Tavares that Jaro's been there for us all year. We just got to pick him up. Love the comment by Travis Hamonic today to Lorenzo, who asked him, how does the team break out of this slide and right the ship prior to the playoffs? And Hamonic goes, "Stop talking to you guys." If you've been in the locker room with Hammer, as Rich and I have, I'm telling you, man, this is a guy that wears his heart on his sleeve. There will be nobody more upset when this season ends, however it ends, than Travis Hamonic. Oh, yeah. And he keeps us honest, because you have to ask Travis a question in an intelligent, thought-out, structured manner. If you don't, he lets you know it. And I've seen it. It's happened right in my face, where he's literally bitched out a fellow reporter for not asking a question that Travis didn't understand where the hell he was coming from.
Yeah.
And he literally just ripped him apart. What are you talking about? Is that a question? I don't even know if that's a question. How do I answer that? And he always gives us his honesty, and I just love that quote from him today. It was fantastic. But
I mean,
a loss is a loss is a loss. I mean, it's a horrible time for Halak to have a mental breakdown.
Mm-hmm.
But he's a man. He's fallible. It happens. That's really all I can say about it. But there's really nothing else to say from my end.
I have to put it up there as probably the worst loss I can remember. Just because of the
circumstances.
The circumstances,
right.
Number one. The epic comeback, number two, and because it was done with the goalie pulled 2 goals, doing that within seconds and losing it with 3 seconds, and the Islanders don't make it. If the Islanders don't make the playoffs,
that'll go down and
probably and it would probably destroy Halak. I mean,
87 Mets, was it right?
07 Mets.
07, I probably 07.
Yeah, the 07 Mets, yeah, and it's exactly that. All I will say is that I know that it's not that we want to be optimistic to kind of hold up our credentials, if you will, or it's because that's who we are. I mean, at least that's how I am. I know that's how you are, Andy. Shane, you're the same way. We try to be not optimistic. We just try to be tempered Islander fans. But today, I'm putting that aside because, very rare am I ever going to say this, but the Islanders pissed me the F off last night. They angered me to the point where I wanted to just break my television, my computer, destroy my Apple TV module. I just could not believe it. I can't believe that they made me act like a damn 16-year-old yesterday. And I woke up with high blood pressure, palpitations. I had the worst day of my freaking life. It rained. It was cold. And I hung out with my kids, and they actually obviously grounded me. What have you?
As they always do.
They always do.
You're two beautiful girls, by the way.
Thank you. But I will say this, guys. I just, that is a bunch of BS last night. A bunch of BS. Five goals.
Something happened to me on the way to semi-maturity. Because if I say maturity, my wife's going to barge in here and contradict me on that. Something happened to me on the way to semi-maturity. In addition to, I had a really, really bad fight with the best man at my wedding about 10 years ago over hockey. And yeah, and it was the silliest thing, and my wife couldn't understand it, and after a while I couldn't even understand it. And something snapped at me at that point, and kind of just went further when we started this Islanders Insight gig, where, you know, I'll always be a fan. I'll always love the New York Islanders, and I'll always cheer for the New York Islanders. There will be no other team for me. But it just doesn't affect me the way it used to. You know, yes, I was upset. Yes, I went to bed kind of a little drained. Yes, I woke up with it on my mind. But you know what? Where was I this morning at 6:35? I was on a bus heading to work. And if they lose Friday, you know, Saturday I'll wake up and start my trek out to the Coliseum to cover the season finale, the regular season finale at the Coliseum. Monday morning I'll be back on that bus heading to work. And that's what I mean by it just doesn't, you know, my life is not anymore centered around whether the Islanders win or lose. And I know that this new fan base now is so young that that's how it is when you're that age. It's how I was when I was 20, 22. So I totally get where they're coming from. But I have a feeling that if you just let it happen, it kind of happens to a lot of people after a while.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know about you, Shane, and I'm going to let you obviously say your piece, because I know it harbored. I mean, I've been harboring. I guess it was repressed. I guess all these years, and all of a sudden, I was like, okay, so let me. You know, I'm about to go get a glass of water because okay, we got the point. You know, cool. I'm gonna email the guys and let's talk about like playoff review. And what?
I got the one better than you, dude. After Lee ties it, okay, I look like a total ass on 2 counts, and I'm lucky nobody caught the second count because I was just like quick draw grass. First count, I tweet out, so do we all love the Isles again? Look like a total jerk 20 seconds later. But the second one's even better. As I'm typing it, dude, I'm typing, Islanders get the tie, earn the point to qualify for playoffs. I hit enter, the tweet goes, puck goes in, delete.
You ready?
That.
You ready for this? I'm watching the game with my mom and dad downstairs. Lee scores. We're all like, "All right, great. This is awesome. We're gonna get the point." I swear to God, please nobody shoot me. I turned to my dad. And I said, "Watch Philly score."
You're kidding me.
Swear to God.
You know what? I don't believe in jinxes, so you're okay with me, buddy.
And what was it? 13 seconds later, Philly scored. My dad just looked at me and he said, "Go upstairs."
Go to your room.
Shane, we're going to let you address this point, and me and Rich will chime in after you're done. Barry's in the chat room, a very passionate, dedicated Islanders fan. He's a longtime reader of Insight. We thank him for coming back and continuing to support us. Barry's very, very upset, as he has been all year with Capuano. This isn't something new, so I'm not, Barry's not a flip-flopper by any means. He's consistent in his dislike of Jack Capuano. And you know what? I have to say he's got a point. And look, for the people that say that we're Capuano, quote unquote, defenders, it goes back to what Rich's point that he just made a couple minutes ago. We're just in the job that we do for the Islanders, about the Islanders, we need to be grounded and we need to be realistic. You know, you never see me coming on saying, Cappy's my best friend. We hang out and have beers. He should get a 20-year contract extension. But at the same time, unless I have proof that he's not doing the job that we assume he's doing in the locker room, and really there's no way to measure motivation, how he is or isn't motivating this team, it's not really something that I can objectively and intelligently comment on. But Barry does make a point about the comments that Capuano made after the game last night.
If I'm allowed to take this one, I could care less what he says to the media and in post-game press conferences. And I'm going to use the perfect example of this. All you have to do is watch the NBA and listen to Greg Popovich, because even before he was successful, his press conferences were, yep, now we played all right. Okay, bye. And he did that.
You gotta do it with a husky voice.
But he did that.
Yeah. All right.
He did that before he was successful. So it's not like he was successful and then was able to do this now because he was successful. He did that from the minute he got into the league. So I could care less what is said in post games or to the media, because I take everything said to the media with a grain of salt, because God knows what's really going on. And teams and PRs are going to feed lines to everybody. We've seen it time and time again. So
to us with Oposo's injury. You know?
Exactly. So what he says in the post game, whether or not he rips his team for playing terrible, I'm just going to look to the side on that, because there's no reason for him to call out the team to the media, because everyone in that locker room, if there's anyone of the 20 people who were dressed for that team last night who think they played well, they don't belong in hockey, never mind in the NHL. If any of them can honestly look in the mirror and say, hey, I played well today, they don't belong on this team. And I don't think I don't think Cappy needs to rip them in the media for them to realize they didn't play well.
And let me elaborate on that point, because I'm pretty sure Andy would agree with me that it doesn't strike me as if Capuano isn't. I mean, he doesn't strike me as the kind of person that would just let something like this slide in private. I think that when the cameras are gone and there isn't anyone around, I'm pretty sure he leans in on his team. I mean, I just think he's that kind of guy who doesn't let the press in. That's something that we all have to kind of reconcile with. And most fans, they want a venting session. They want their coach, if you will, to be their voice, as if they're speaking through, like projecting, if you will, through Capuano. And they want to see rage. Somebody earlier today on Twitter tweeted a Wally Backman moment where he was just like expletive after expletive. Go ahead.
I want to jump back in as soon as you finish, because I want to address what Barry just said in the chat. So
okay, let me go to the chat. Yeah, sure. But I look. Andy's always said this, and I agree with him. He said, if you're waiting for a coach to motivate a professional hockey player, then that professional hockey player is A, not professional, and B, needn't be in the NHL.
I don't know if I agree with that, because good coaches do motivate their team, and you could see it.
But I don't think. But I think when we talk about motivation in that sense, I think we're talking about like getting yelled in your face. Like the old days, like what you hear about with the 1980 USA hockey team, where Herb Brooks was in everybody's grill, and even to this day they respect him, but don't necessarily like him.
Herb Brooks did a fantastic job with that team, but he was a shitty coach. Outside of that,
exactly, he couldn't coach the Rangers, the North Stars, whoever it was that he.
Sorry, Rich, but this is really aggravating me.
Go ahead.
Would you prefer John Tortorella coach this team?
No, but that's what I'm saying.
I wouldn't, as a member of the media, I wouldn't.
No, exactly.
John Tortorella ripped his teams in post-game press conferences all the time, and what did it get him? Fired from 2 jobs, 1 Stanley Cup because he had a phenomenal team.
But that's the wrong example. The best example would be Mike Keenan, who is known to be just as bad, and not worse. But he was a little bit more tempered with the media. But my point is this. It's not playing devil's advocate or defending Capuano. He strikes me as the kind of man who keeps things very close to the chest, because that's the way this team and organization works. But it doesn't mean that he's not lighting a fire under this team's ass. That's just all I'm saying.
Well,
there's no way to know, because we're not in the room to know.
I'm not even defending
Shane Adams. I apologize.
Sorry. I'm not even defending Capuano, because if we're going to be completely honest in this podcast episode and this conversation, I don't think he should come back next year. So I'm not defending Capuano. I'm arguing that him not ripping the team in post game conferences isn't what people should be mad at. That's pointless. No, that means in the grand scheme of things, ripping a team in the press conference isn't going to get your team to play any better for you at all. All that is that's for the fans. That's for us.
Right.
And honestly, I don't care enough to see him scream and yell in a press conference, because it's not going to make the team. Perfect example.
but I think you're missing Barry's point. I would have liked, me personally, and I've been around Jack all season. I've talked to Jack plenty of times. Jack called me last summer, and we put an interview with him that I spoke with him on air. So I've seen enough and spoken to Jack enough to kind of, what I would have liked to see him say simply is, we did not play well enough to win that hockey game. That's it. Simple. But instead, I kind of agree with Barry's point in that coming on and saying we played well enough to win that game when, A, 20 players in that room know they didn't, and however many people who were watching at home know they didn't, it's kind of like, seriously, dude? Like, don't say anything then.
See, honestly, I most of the time I don't even watch because I really don't care what coaches or players have to say in the postgame. Give me them the next day when they've had time to sleep on the game. They've had time to let everything sink in. I don't care about the post-game conferences. There's something about them, to me, that just aren't real because you're never going to get an honest answer out of people.
Well, yeah, me and Rich have talked about that countless times. How many times, Rich, did we go in there last year, which was a horrendous year to be in the room? And I think I remember telling Rich, and this was like in January, I'm like, dude, like, we get the same stock answers every single night.
And it's so silent you can hear an ant fart.
Just
so
a
damn silent.
regurgitation over and over again. We know what we have to do. We got to fight our way out of it. We got to continue to work.
I agree with Barry here. 100%. I would rather him have told Shannon, no, I'm not coming out. Don't say anything. I would rather him have not said anything. I don't need him.
But they're obliged to. They're contracted to.
They are.
According to the network, they have to speak.
But Shane, you said something that I think is absolutely true, and that is it's not what he says or not say during a press conference, but I just feel that there is such a gap between just hard work and then God-given talent, and those two things marrying well, and you see creativity on the ice. I don't see any creativity.
Hold on. Let's shift back to Capuano because I think we still have a lot to talk about here.
No, but here's what I'm saying. Let me tie it back to Capuano. My point is that I think that he's too blue collar, a little too blue collar. You see what I'm saying? He's too blue collar.
It's not on the coach to be creative because you could only coach a team so far. The creativity has to come from the team. You can't coach creativity.
Whoa, hold on.
No, special teams, it falls on the coaching.
But special teams
has to come from the team. From the player. I agree. But so you're saying the creativity has to come from the player, but the motivation doesn't?
That doesn't make.
Yeah, no, that's not. I'm saying I don't. Not. You don't have to be a cheerleader, but I do think a good coach motivates his team.
But creativity is something that a coach can bring to the table.
But not really, because it's not like football where you could draw up this phenomenal play. Hockey is so reactive to where the puck bounces, where the defenseman goes. It's impossible for an NHL coach to draw up a play and say, this is how you be creative.
So then why get rid of Capuano then, if that's the case? He doesn't have the right players in his stable.
Thank you for asking me that. Because we had a 5-on-3 penalty kill with a whistle and a breakaway, and Straight and Hamonic were out there for 1 minute and 42 seconds straight. We had a whistle and a breakaway, and the defenseman didn't come off the ice once. That is on the coaching. You do not leave two defensemen out there.
Hold on there, brother. So you're telling me, hold on, are you trying to tell me that an NHL coach is screaming from the bench
at a minute 40 of a 5-on-3, I'm pulling
out of your freaking mind. Shea Weber and Nicholas Kronwall and Ryan McDonough and go through the whole goddamn list of them. They know when to come off the ice.
But look, first don't put Straight.
This is like you and I coach in high school where we're like change. All the coach is saying is who's up next. He taps him on the back. You're up next.
Regardless of the. But changing on the fly is one thing. He had a whistle halfway through that.
All right, that's all right. The whistle I'll give you.
We got a whistle, and I looked up and I said, okay, good. And then I looked, and we won the face-off, and Straight and Hamonic was still out there, and I was like, okay.
But how long were they out there prior to the whistle?
I think the whistle was like 40 seconds or so into the penalty kill, which is more than enough time to switch your defenseman.
I agree.
And then after that, Nelson got the breakaway, and I was like, all right, at that point, now you yell. I don't care what level it is. At this point, you say, all right, get off the ice.
That was one of my biggest concerns with them was seeing that even after the whistle he left them out there. That's the first time.
Look, let me just say this. Let me just say this as simply as I can. Jack Capuano is not happy with what's going on. He is not happy with the way the team has played the last 2 months. He's not happy with the special teams, the power play. Okay? He's not. But again, he's just not that kind of guy, and in all reality, there's not really many other than a John Tortorella who are really going to give the fans what they want in terms of that. If you look at a guy like John Cooper, who had the privilege of meeting this year and spending a couple of minutes alone with, guys like Barry Trotz, even a guy like Alain Vigneault, Lou Lamoriello, who took over the coaching reins of New Jersey. I went to a couple of press conferences at The Rock. They're just not going to give most 90 to 95% of these coaches aren't going to give you that, regardless of what they're thinking privately. And look, as much as the access we have is fantastic and we're allowed to share that with our readers, we don't have the kind of access that's going to allow us to have an intelligent opinion on what Capuano does or doesn't do behind closed doors. End of story.
Yeah.
So
no one has that. Staple doesn't even have that.
Right. So for anyone looking for us or Staple, for that matter, to write a scathing piece on what Jack is failing at, we don't know. We don't know.
I will say from my perspective, and now I think people get misconstrued, so I'm going to lay this out there. I've never been in the locker room behind the scenes. That's you guys. So from my perspective, what I've seen, I think Capuano has done a fantastic job developing the young talent we have.
He's always been a young player's coach.
Now it's time to shift to the win mentality and bring in a coach who's going to do that.
And I've said that on this podcast before too. They all coaches have just like a can of string beans have a shelf life, and eventually that shelf life, even for the great ones, the Scotty Bowmans, the Al Arbors, go even back. I mean, they have a shelf life, and eventually that shelf life runs out. And is Capuano at his expiration date? It's possible that he is.
But that's why Capuano was so good in Bridgeport, because that's what he does well. He develops well. But now, this year, which is why I was fine with them not getting rid of him the past couple of years, because this year is the turning point in this rebuild. And now from this year forward is when we have to be the win now, success mentality. And now this is when we need to bring in the coach that's going to do that. We need the coach that's going to win, not develop, because the development should be all but done.
But Shane, you just earlier said to me that creativity is something the player brings, not the coach. So what difference does it make, really? If you have a coach who's competent, because we all agree that that's who Capuano is. He's competent. Hold on. But I say he's competent, but almost to a fault, right? He's got to turn. He's got to pivot to be that great coach that we all know he can't be, because there's something just not there. Okay, it's just not there. I don't see it there. I don't see that creativity. I don't see him being a Babcock-like coach. So what makes Babcock, and what makes Capuano? You say the stable, right? His stable. So what difference does it make? The stable's still going to be primarily the same next season.
That's not true, though, because Babcock's doing a lot with not too much on Detroit this year. They are far from the Detroit of the past. Far from it.
Wait, yeah, and you know what? The last month they've been struggling. I wonder if how is that viewed on soon-to-be free agent Mike Babcock, who, by the way, the Islanders have zero chance of getting. So let's stop that fairy tale.
That would be beautiful.
There's there's a lot of teams that have struggled in the last month or two. Not just us. I mean, I know that as Islander fans, we place the emphasis on us, and rightfully so. But again, step out of your Islanders box, look objectively at the league, and you see teams like the Red Wings, teams like the Bruins, who've struggled up until the past 2 weeks or so.
Mm-hmm. The Penguins.
Look at the Los Angeles Kings, who won the Stanley Cup last year and might be out of the playoffs this year. Look at the Pittsburgh Penguins, as Rich just said. Horrible, not worse than us probably.
Yep.
But if you look around the National Hockey League, you're going to have a team this year that breaks the record for the most points not making the playoffs. You're going to have a team with 95-plus points not make the playoffs.
Let's just hope it's not the Islanders.
Unbelievable the parity in the league this year. And I just want to go to one point. I want to get your two guys' opinions on this. I was thinking about this on the way home. What Mike Milbury did to this team is literally, in my opinion, take it back to a franchise, take it back to an expansion club. That's what he did. He just ripped the thing apart to the bare bottom. I mean, he literally burned the building down and said, build it back up. That takes time. We've seen that rebuild evolve over the last 10 years or so, especially under Garth Snow's tenure, where it's finally bearing fruit. But how can I say this gently?
No, don't.
I think a lot of fans who are hungry for success, and they should be after so many years of losing, might have just raised the bar on their own expectations a little too high. What I mean by that is, we were basically taken by Milbury back to an expansion club. Garth Snow's job was to then build it back up from Bridgeport on up, which he did. Now we're at the point where we're turning that corner. All right, we're seeing that corner being turned, but we're not even close to being there yet. If you asked me back in December if I thought the Islanders were a Stanley Cup contender, you know what I would have said? No. If you asked me today if I think
I'm pretty sure all three of us actually did say that.
The answer is
in December.
still no.
Yeah, I think we did
This team
say
is
that.
never ready for prime time.
No.
They're not ready for, but you know what? They will be.
Yeah.
And I
We've
know
been-
that's hard to say with all the losing that we've endured and the fact that this is their best season in 30 freaking years in terms of wins, percentage of points. I get it, but we're not even there yet.
I do think it has to be someone else at the helm that takes us to that point, though.
I think you might be right. You might be right about that.
And I will say
like
this.
Cappy. I think he's done a great job with the job he was given. I think he has come in and done exactly what he was supposed to do.
But expiration date might be there.
But now I think it's time for someone else to take the helm and bring us fully around the corner.
That's a valid
and
point.
complete the turn of the rebuild.
And it's a
Barry's
shame, right?
Barry's been saying that all year, and it's a valid point.
And it's a shame because in the end, it's not a shame, but he's going to be a very small footnote in Islander history.
No, I don't think he will, because I think people will realize what he did for this
Yeah,
organization.
I think you're giving the Isles Twitter way too much credit, dude. I don't think they have that much. They're angry right now, and everything is fire Capuano, this and that. You're a reasonable Islander fan. There are there's not many left after last night, dude. And I think they want to put as much distance between Capuano and whoever it is that comes into this role as much as humanly possible.
The thing I'm afraid of, and I think it's just because I'm conditioned like this because I'm an Islander fan, is I don't want it to be Wade.
No, me neither.
No, it
I'm
won't.
very
I
afraid
don't
they're
think
gonna
so.
roll that. They're gonna roll Cappy out and roll Wade into that.
No, they got to go outside. I know that Barry before mentioned Dave Tippett, who I think would be an excellent hire. I love Dave Tippett. As long as they don't bring in a Tortorella type guy, that's not what this team needs.
I read on Twitter this morning, the rumor mill was that Sutter wants out.
Really?
I don't know. Yeah, and I don't know if that was just BS on Twitter. I'm not going to mention who said it.
Who? Rich, Ron, Brent, Dwayne? Which one?
Why would Sutter want
The
out?
coach.
Daryl.
Daryl.
Why would Sutter want out? I don't know.
Probably
That
power
They want
struggle.
him
Yeah, it's in L.A. It's Hollywood. Maybe who knows? Maybe he wants to go do movies.
Listen,
you
we
know?
said it on this podcast long ago. If you can trade Gretzky, anything's possible in hockey.
Exactly.
That's true. That's very true.
But anyway,
this team, you see it in the Boychuk and Letty signings. You know, this team is going to be able to go out and get a big name coach. You know, because people around the league are noticing the talent. They're noticing the pipeline. They're seeing what's down in Bridgeport. This is not the Islanders of 2008-9 who went 26-47.
right.
You know, coaches who are free agents are going to look at this team and say, yeah, that'd be a good team I can coach. New building in Brooklyn, new atmosphere, really good players, all locked up to long-term deals.
Except the fans are gonna scare him away.
Fans never scare. I'll say this again. Jack Capuano doesn't care what the fans say. Garth Snow doesn't care what the fans say.
Neither do the 20 guys in the lineup every night.
I'm going to say that they hear it. I'm not going to say I can't accurately say whether they quote unquote care or not, but they definitely hear it.
You got to think like a Michael Grabner here, is it? Because he's very heavy on Twitter. You got to think like a guy like Calvin DeHaan.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I also feel like
Ryan Strome. Yeah.
I also feel like Grabner lets this roll off his back. Like he strikes me as the kind of guy who doesn't let it get to him.
Yeah.
Grabner played a really solid game last night. Considering
He really did. He really.
And I think he hasn't been 100% healthy at any point this season. In fact, he told me so 3 weeks ago in Jersey. That he was having a hard time fitting in. He was having a hard time finding his groove after all the injuries. Then he gets sick. I just don't think he's been right all year. What's puzzling to me at this point, very puzzling, and there's two things right now that are being locked down more tightly than the nuclear codes by the U.S. government.
Nielsen.
That's what the Islanders have planned for Saturday, and they do have something planned. I just don't. Nobody knows what it is. And number two is what's going on with Calvin DeHaan. Now, I haven't been told, or nor have I found out that it's any kind of injury. I know there was a comment made about 2 weeks ago from Calvin that, I'll play when they say I'm playing. I don't like sitting. There was a comment made by Capuano when I was there last Saturday that he hasn't lost confidence in Calvin. So I don't know what the deal is there, to be completely 100% honest, and it's bothering me a little bit. To be honest with you.
Speaking of players that are injured and haven't really fully recovered and may or may not be hurting his hockey team is, for me, Kyle Okposo. I don't want to say that the team went on a downturn or a downtick when he returned to the lineup, but I do want to say that the team is kind of waiting for him to catch up, and in that waiting period, the team is suffering. Now, obviously, Okposo's injury is it's a grave injury. I am very surprised that he's back this season. I just can't believe it. But I feel as if, I don't know what you guys think, but I feel as if his play is hindering this squad, and I think putting him on that top line for those games that he was initially back hurt this team. And now here we are in a situation where he could very well be out of the playoff picture. I don't know. I don't know if that falls on the coaches. Is that something that Kyle Okposo has to be more honest about? But I feel, and this is something Joe Pantorno was talking about on Twitter and on the email chain, that is Kyle Okposo injuring this team?
Think of Kyle Okposo as it's tough to really. I hate doing player comparisons, but I don't know. Take the second best forward on any team that was out for 8 weeks, and
Tyler Seguin.
He's going to be. I don't think Okposo's anywhere near Tyler Seguin, but I understand.
It's the same comparison though.
I understand
Okposo, Ben Seguin.
Take that player out of the lineup for 8 weeks, and when he comes back, he's going to be force-fed back into the lineup.
Absolutely.
On any team.
Right.
So anyone thinking of Kyle Okposo, yes, he's not playing well, but does he deserve to be benched? Maybe. Is he going to be benched? Absolutely not. Not going to happen.
To me, he's on the same level as Bailey right now. That's where he is to me in the lineup.
At least Bailey can back check, so I would have to disagree with that.
No, because Okposo still is that threat along the wall, can come out with the puck, can drive. I would put him on the same level as Bailey right now.
I don't know.
Well,
I don't see Kyle Okposo doing much. I see him trying, but the good old college try with 2 games left and you're not in the playoffs. I would sit him.
But can't. I don't think you can justify not having Okposo in the lineup going into the playoffs.
Well, why not? If you were winning without him.
Because who's going to take his place right now with the rest of the injuries? Bolton?
Listen, I'd rather have Bolton up there. He's playing phenomenally compared to Kyle Okposo.
I don't know about that.
I would never play Bolton over Okposo though.
Yeah.
But listen. Is that our cue to go to commercial?
But if Grabowski was healthy and Grabner was 100% and Martin and Nielsen were 100%, maybe. But you can't justify sitting Okposo if his replacement is going to be Colin McDonald or Bolton.
Obviously not, but what I am saying, though, guys, is that...
I do think he's playing terrible.
Exactly. He's playing terribly, and we can't sugarcoat it anymore with 2 freaking games left. You can't do it. We got to call it like we got to call it.
Barry just asked, why is it every time Okposo has gotten hurt, it takes 9 months for him to get going? That's
because of injuries.
But pay attention to every season he's ever played. Injury or not, he is terrible in the beginning of the season.
Or whenever he,
Alaposo is, in my opinion, still being bothered by that eye. There's something not
Oh,
right.
absolutely.
have you
something
seen it
not
up
right.
close? Have you seen it up close? It's still red. It's
half
small.
shut.
Yeah. He's
It's
not
half
seeing
shut.
through it. There's no way.
There's no way he's seeing
Exactly.
well out of that eye. And if I was to guess, and I'll just believe me, I'm just guessing here. I wouldn't doubt if he's doing what I did in high school. I lost one of my contact lenses in high school. I played the second half of my junior year with one contact.
Holy crap! How did you see?
I wouldn't be surprised if it's possible. But I wouldn't be surprised because I don't see how he's even getting a lens in that eye.
Here's what I'm saying. Doesn't he have an obligation to be honest with his teammates and say, guys, I'm not functioning at 100%?
But he can help, even in that capacity. He can help. I think.
I just think that he's look, taking hockey out of it just a second, you can go blind.
I know.
It's just kind of crazy, man.
Even the fact that he's probably still being bothered by the eye to the side, he is terrible when he first comes back.
Yeah, he is. So slow
He's
start.
always a slow starter, so you can't expect him to start fast when he comes back from what we all believe is a pretty bad injury. I mean, I don't know. I've never detached my retina. I assume it's not an easy
You should
recovery.
try it. You should try it one time. It's fabulous.
I think I'll pass. Thank you, though. I appreciate that.
Washington 2, Boston nothing. End of 1.
I don't know who to root for.
Boston.
They root for Boston, dude.
Doesn't really matter.
Doesn't matter because the Islanders are not going to win the next two games.
At this point, if we make the playoffs, we're playing Washington or the Rangers, and
I'm
either
gonna
way,
play-
that's an awful matchup.
Wrong.
No,
The Islanders would have to finish 8th.
Yeah.
Would have to finish in the bottom wild card spot to play the Rangers. I don't think they're going to fall that far. If they make it, I think it's going to be either Washington, Pittsburgh, Montreal, Tampa, or
Oh
Detroit.
God,
Well,
give me
the only
Tampa.
thing is, they have to be like. I wanted this scenario. I wanted to have the two series.
Montreal, Pittsburgh, Washington, or Tampa.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing.
Pittsburgh, please.
I wanted the one-game playoff with the Pittsburgh Penguins to alleviate that frustration that I had from 2 seasons ago. When we eliminate the Penguins, then we can. All right, that's one thing off my bucket list. And then I wouldn't mind an opening round at this point with Islander Rangers because I don't think the Islanders are going to make it past the first round, regardless of who they play. But it would be a lot more entertaining to see Islander Rangers at the Coliseum one more time.
Would it?
It would. It would be. I think they can take the Rangers 7 games. I don't think they're going to beat them.
If the Islanders, I'm going to guarantee you this right now. If the Islanders and Rangers meet in the first round of the playoffs, there are 3 things that are going to happen.
They're going to get swept like they did in 93, 94.
1, I'm deactivating all my social media accounts. That's number 1.
2, you're getting divorced.
2, I'm going to either work really, really late every game night, or I'm going to watch the game elsewhere. Even if it's you know how sad it is to see like a guy at a bar by himself.
Yes.
Like he's like a loser. Like he's you almost say what a fucking either a loser or you feel really bad for him.
Well, if the shoe fits.
Right. So that's 2, and what was 3 again?
My house is always open if you want to come watch the games here.
Yeah, I mean I'm not sure I'd be able to, and 3. I'm not sure the Islanders in their current state would even win a game in that series right now.
Well, I will say this. The last time the Rangers won a President's Trophy was the last time the Islanders played the Rangers and got swept by them. So it's all set up for a rematch or like a freaking Groundhog's Day effect.
I just really hope that we get Pittsburgh in the first round and can eliminate them.
No,
Well, that's definitely their best matchup.
but it's not going to happen. We're going to
Or
eliminate them.
Tampa, because for some reason we play Tampa really well.
We play I wouldn't mind Tampa. I wouldn't mind Pittsburgh. Washington,
bad
I'm kind of
matchups.
50. Washington, I'm 50-50 on right now. I want no part of Montreal. At all.
Montreal, we lose in 4.
That might be true.
We the games that we've lost to them, they haven't even looked close.
Yeah.
They just match up against us extremely well.
Although there is the Pacioretty factor.
Yes.
Nobody knows what's going on with Pacioretty. That's a huge loss if he's out for any extended amount of time. Now they announced he's going to miss the final 2 regular season games as a quote-unquote precaution. That's huge news coming out of Montreal about Pacioretty. So
I don't know.
the Canadians cannot replace Pacioretty. It's impossible.
But they can make up for it with Carey Price, though.
you still can't replace Pacioretty.
No, of course not. He's
That might be.
that's your force.
I still think Montreal is too small, in my opinion, to make a deep run. Without Pacioretty, they're gonna have a lot of trouble. I think as good of a regular season as they've had.
I would put that as the Islanders losing Leddy going into the playoffs. That would be the equivalent to me.
How you can't compare a forward and a defense.
Like,
but I mean importance to
losing
the team.
like
Importance
losing
to the team.
Losing Pacioretty would be like losing Tavares.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I thought that was too far of a stretch for Pacioretty.
No,
I don't think so.
No, man. That guy's clutch. Pacioretty's clutch.
He's their guy. Pacioretty is their one source of consistent offense.
And wait, and let's talk about JT for like a split second. Hold on. Those 2 face-off wins, holy crap. Those were beautiful, man.
But I have to ask, were those the first 2 wins he's had all year?
They came at the right time, bro.
Let me tell you something. That Lee goal was such a sick play.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Barry, I hate hypothetical questions, Barry. I absolutely hate hypothetical questions, and that's the toughest hypothetical question I've ever hypothetically thought about.
I'd rather miss the playoffs.
I'd rather miss the playoffs.
That would be close to as unbearable as you can get.
No, I can't deal with losing 4 games straight to the Rangers. I would shoot a Ranger fan. There's no way I would be.
And I would be behind you applauding you. Yes.
I'd rather miss the playoffs because if I had to deal with the backlash of being swept by the Rangers.
Man, you imagine that? Holy
I think emotion would give the Islanders a win or 2 in that series. Pure emotion.
Ugh, I can't believe we're talking about working off fumes than like momentum. This is ridiculous.
That's another thing. They look exhausted. This entire team looks exhausted. None of them look like they were in shape enough to make it through an 82-game season. They look shot. Look at Tavares, and I mean Tavares obviously is leading the league in points. But if you notice how much more easily, whatever. He's being pushed off the puck now than he was midway through the season. This team just looks wiped.
Yeah, but again, and I think prior to last night we saw that from Anders Lee as well. You know, he hit the rookie wall, like many other have before him, and I think the team, to your point, has hit a wall. But again, that's what I meant before about this team just not being ready yet.
Yeah.
You know, they have to learn the consistency that it takes to play through the 82 games and put yourself in the best position heading into the playoffs. Sort of like the Rangers did. Let's face it, the Rangers since the beginning of November have been the best team in the league. And, well, I mean, outside of the runs, obviously, that Ottawa and Minnesota have made, but from pretty much almost from start to finish, you know, they earned that President's Trophy. You can't take it away from them. But I'll say it again, and I said this the other night, come Wednesday, that President's Trophy means nothing. 16 teams reset to 0, stats all reset to 0, and everyone starts anew. It truly is what they call the second season. So
yeah.
Yes, the President's Trophy, by all means, well-deserved, and congratulations to the Rangers and their fans on that accomplishment, but come Wednesday, that to me means nothing.
Can I just say one thing about when the playoffs do come around?
Sure.
Hickey and Wisniewski could not be an NHL defensive pair in the NHL playoffs.
You've said that before.
That is
horrendous.
You're a consistent, annoying person with that.
That is brutal. The two of them, they're too small. And quite frankly, they've both been making terrible decisions with the puck.
Yeah, Hickey hasn't had the best year. Wisniewski's done actually really well. He's got 6 points in his last 7 games.
The two of them, I think you have to split. I think you have to. If the 6 defensemen you're going to keep in the lineup are the 6 that were out there last night, I think you have to split up Boychuk and Leddy.
No, it's just ridiculous. You can't do that, Shane.
You can't say, oh, I want this really dominant defensive pair, and then 2 pairs that are just not nearly as good.
I just think your third pair is your worst pair. That's all. You can put Hickey in straight there if you want, and then
because then
the fact that Brian Straight's even being talked about in the playoff conversation is enough to make me cringe. And I'm not a Brian Straight hater. I think that's got to stop. By the way, not every goal scored is Brian Straight's fault.
Yes, it is. The fact that Okposo just completely let his man skate by him had nothing to do with that.
Right, and some he who shall not be named immediately went to Brian Straight. I'm like, I had to retort. I'm like, are you serious with that? Because he let the pass through. I said, are you kidding me?
That was a sick pass, by the way.
Are you serious right now? He's like, oh, that's Straight's fault for letting the pass through. I said, you're totally missing the fact that Oposo just was whispering in his guy's ear in the low slot.
Do you think we see Pulak or Reinhardt?
No.
No.
Not at this juncture.
Was that quick enough for you?
Well then I'm terrified then, because that means
They would have been up by now.
Yeah, there's a guy called Matthew Donovan that could actually come in and help out.
At this point, Donovan, Reinhardt, and Pulak are all the same. Because
No, they're not.
Donovan coming in at this point would be the same. At
No.
least Pulak and Reinhardt have been playing.
No, I still would put. I'd rather have Donovan in there. I still would rather have him there.
Well, I don't know.
We're not going to see either of those guys you just mentioned.
The defensive pairs, hopefully Dahan gets back in the lineup. I don't know what's going on there. But if he does, I still think you need to split Boychuk and Leddy, because you need to split Hickey and Wisnowski.
But I tell you one thing about Viz. When he played against Pittsburgh, he looked very good. And I think he's the kind of guy who rises to the occasion. So
The problem is neither of them are defensive.
No, they are very offensive-minded. At least Viz is.
Ideally, Hamonic, Viz.
Yeah.
Hamonic, Hickey, Boychuk, Viz, Leddy, Dahan.
You're not splitting up. You're not splitting up Leddy and Boychuk.
But even Dahan, Wisnowski makes me cringe.
No,
and Dahan Hickey makes me cringe.
You do Leddy, Boychuk, you do Viz and Hamonic, and then your last pair, you just you pray when they're out there. You just say, God.
If you're praying when one of your defensive players is on the ice in the playoffs, you don't deserve to win a game.
I understand, Shane, but those are the cards that were dealt, man. There's nothing you can do about it.
Dahan's been really bad, and like Barry said, Matt Donovan is
dead.
Gone to Capuano. It's just. I don't know what that probably, to me, outside of the latest Dahan saga, is probably the most puzzling thing for me this year, is the absolute burial of Matt Donovan. What a shame.
And we'll never know the truth until he gets traded, because he will be. And then I'll ask him. I'm going to ask him.
Well, he'll either be traded. Don't forget, he's at a point in his contract where even though this year he's a restricted free agent, he can actually opt out of that.
Yeah. And he'll be gone. He's not going to come back.
No.
I wouldn't.
Why would he?
Yeah. Get the hell out of here. Go to the Rangers and piss everybody off.
You know what? I'd still root for him.
I will say, as much as everyone hates Brian Straight, at least it's not Martinek.
Same thing, though.
Radish.
Radek is Brian. Brian is Radek.
The Glass Man. I have a soft spot for Radek. I do.
It was a rough night, and
it was a rough night.
I just, it all is not lost. You know what? I'll admit defeat when we're defeated. Until that point, but I hope that Saturday doesn't turn out to mean as much as it's looking it might mean at this point.
You'll be there to cover it for Islanders Insight.
That's a scary team. I honestly have a little more faith in the Pittsburgh game Friday on the road than the Columbus game Saturday.
Well, Columbus is up 4-0 on Toronto right now.
Jesus.
Yeah, but you're a hockey team you coach in high school could be up 4-0 against Toronto. So.
But the point is Columbus has been playing lights-out hockey the last 15 games. They're totally loose, nothing to play for, nothing to lose. Last game of the year. That's a team I just don't want to be playing at this point.
Yeah, they are nasty. Absolutely nasty.
And Mike Milbury's credibility, Barry, is zilch, zero, nada, nothing. Forget it. You know what? He should go just for good old time's sake. He should start hitting himself in the head with a shoe. Moron.
Scott's telling me that Donovan sucks and I have to get over it.
Yeah.
No.
Advanced stats tell me that Matt Donovan doesn't suck. The eye test tells me that Matt Donovan doesn't suck. In fact, let's go back to last year and mention again how in the month of what month was it?
January.
Stupid winter game against the Rangers. January. When Donovan was paired with Dahan, he was arguably the best Islander defenseman for that month, and then got buried again. So, whatever.
I'm telling you.
Want facts.
Yeah, exactly. And when he gets traded and he's like a freaking G, then we're gonna realize, oh, I guess he was good after all. And we're gonna be like, told you, but now what? Now we're stuck with straight. Did I say that? Sorry. Whatever.
Okay, I think that's it. I think I don't know if I can handle talking about the Islanders anymore today.
So let's talk about something else before we go. Wait, this is getting good. We got a nice vibe going on. Oh, you suck.
Oh, you can talk about how terrible the Yankees are now too.
Yeah, but who cares about the Yankees, man?
I mean, I do a little bit. No, I mean, not for.
Mets
hopefully
are
the
in
next
first
couple
place,
months.
baby. They're gonna have a renaissance season just like the Islanders, and they're gonna screw it up at the
And
end.
then they're gonna miss the playoffs by a game. All right. Well, you guys have been listening to the Dump and Chase podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in. This was episode number 45. Andy Graziano at Tasman19. Is there anything you'd like to plug?
He left.
Did he really?
No, I don't think he can hear us.
Andy?
Andy, are you there? You want to plug something? How about plugging in your headphones?
Andrew? Italian? All right, Rich Diaz Rodriguez at RDNHL. Is there anything you would like to plug?
No, I want to thank our readers for a great season. Thank you, and our listeners as well, for listening and reading all season long. Hang in there. And don't worry, if they don't make it, I'll be the voice of your frustration. Don't worry. I'm ready for that.
And I'm Shane Blackburn. You can find me at Shane B NHL, actually at Dump and Chase 80 because I don't use the personal one anymore. Make sure you check us out, IslandersInsight.com and the Dump and Chase Podcast.com. And until next week, let's not blow this.
Where did Andy go? Andy.
Where'd you
I
go,
was
Andy?
here. My audio was cutting in and out. Like I
Damn.
completely lost audio for like 2 minutes.
We're hoping you would get like a smart-ass Twitter.
I'm even trying. Like I was even trying to chat. My chats weren't even going through either.
Oh, your internet.
your
Happened in your
intranet.
in your interwebs.
Yeah, I totally lost. Like it went out for like 45 seconds, then came back on, then went back out.
So let me get this straight. Washington wins. That basically screws Pittsburgh.
Not really. I don't think that really has much. Oh, right. Well, because then Boston, right?
Yeah.
I see what you mean.
So then
Let's
that
see,
means
hold on.
whoever wins third. So if Washington stays in with this lead and they beat, they win tonight. The Islanders
I'm
can
checking.
eliminate. The Islanders can eliminate Pittsburgh.
Yes. Washington, if they win tonight, will be on 101 points
Mhm.
with one game left, meaning they can get to 103.
Yep.
Meaning the Islanders, that would actually clinch If Washington wins tonight, they clinch second place.
Right.
The Islanders can only finish third or
Third.
wild card.
Right.
So they clinch home ice if they win tonight.
So
And that would put them at 101.
Mhm.
Pittsburgh could only get to 100, so they would guarantee a finish ahead of Pittsburgh. And it would give Boston 97 at 80 games. They would pass Pittsburgh.
Mhm.
Right, that would bump Pittsburgh into the wild card spot.
And if the Sens keep winning, if they beat the Rangers, which I think they could, and then it just lights out.
I mean,
Then it's lights
Washington-
out Pittsburgh. Yeah, that's it.
Washington, I mean, the best thing for Pittsburgh is that Washington wins. Pittsburgh wants Washington to win.
Of course.
But if Washington wins, again, they will clinch second place in the Metro and home ice in the first
Home
round.
ice in the first round. Yep.
Because they'd have 101. The Islanders can only get to. Oh no, I'm sorry. No, they wouldn't.
Wait, hold on. Let me check.
They would have 101,
They have another game left,
and the
right?
Islanders can still get to 102. So I'm wrong. They wouldn't clinch.
102 is the most we could finish with.
102 is the
Yeah.
most, and Washington would be on 101. So their magic number would be 1.
One. Yeah, I see that now. Okay, so Detroit's in, right?
Yeah,
No.
Detroit,
They're
no,
not.
Detroit
not
has
in
less
at all.
points than us.
There's 5 teams for 4 spots in the East: Detroit, Islanders, Pittsburgh, Boston, Ottawa. 5 teams, 4 spots.
Damn, man, Ottawa's a pain in the ass.
Detroit is not guaranteed anything. Ottawa's only 2 points behind Detroit.
Yeah. Wow.
They can't catch them in regulation wins, so they have to pass them in points. But
Regulate the
they're
row.
like 2 points back.
Detroit has Montreal, Carolina. Ottawa has Rangers, Philly.
Philly's gonna be a tough game.
Pittsburgh has us and Buffalo.
It's in Buffalo, yeah.
Ugh. And Boston has Washington, Florida, Tampa.
But in all reality, I believe that what you see is what you're getting. Like I just think it's
And
positioning.
Tampa, by the way, can still get the number 2 spot.
Yeah.
They're only 2 points back, even in games.
Yeah, they could
Win
be.
regulation win, so they just got to
Yeah.
tie Montreal in points, and they get it.
Yeah, man, I can't believe it.
So Tampa could finish in that 2 spot, bumping Montreal to 3.
Wait, I want to do something really quick actually before we all go.
Okay. You there?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is something that's been bothering me. So let's see. We have 40s. We would hands down be in the playoffs if they eliminated the loser point.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Mhm.
Hands
Which-
down.
Yeah.
No
Absolutely.
questions asked.
Right. Well, that's because we have the second lowest overtime losses in the conference. Only Columbus has less.
We have 46 wins. That would put us at 92 points.
Yep.
Washington would be at 88. Pittsburgh would be at 84.
Yep.
Boston would be at
82.
82, and Detroit would be at 84.
Yep.
Yeesh.
Got to get rid of that shootout, man.
You gotta get rid of it. That's a bunch of crap.
They have to go. They have to go to a 3-point system. 3 points for a regulation win, 1 for an overtime win, 1 for the overtime loss. If that's really how you want to do it.
No. I don't think an overtime loss should be the same as an overtime win. That doesn't make any sense.
No. 3 for a regulation win. 2 for a regulation.
3-1-1. 3-2-1. I
No,
think.
3-2-1. I meant.
Yeah.
3 for the regulation win, 2 for the overtime win, 1 for the overtime loss.
I agree.
How about none of that? How about just a freaking tie?
Well, I agree with that too.
I mean, I'd prefer that, but they're never going to go back to that.
Ugh, such an
You play 65 minutes of competitive hockey and you're 2-2. It's a fucking tie.
Yeah.
Tie.
My thing is, if a shootout isn't good enough for the playoffs, it shouldn't be good enough for the regular season.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a very good point. I agree wholeheartedly.
Right.
Although, have the shootout numbers been down since they changed the overtime rule this year?
What changed? They didn't change the overtime rule.
Yeah, they do the dry cut first, and
Oh,
then
that's stupid.
Oh, that's a,
and the long change.
That's a shit.
Oh,
If anything, they've experimented all year in the AHL with, 4-on-4 and then 3-on-3.
They're real down. I'm almost positive they're really down.
That has worked.
Yeah.
That has worked.
Shootouts in the AHL are down tremendously.
Right, because of like halfway through the overtime, they extended overtime to I think 8 minutes,
hmm
and at the 4-minute mark they go to 3-on-3.
And isn't that what they wanted to do? Or they're
That's
going
why
to
they
do?
did it, because if it works, which it has worked, they're thinking about bringing it in next year.
Yeah, I think that would be much better than what the hell we have now, man.
Screw the
Unbelievable.
shootout, man.
Bunch of crap.
Shootout's horrible.
Hold on.
Look, I mean, the Jersey Devils last year, their whole season went down the pipes because of that.
Strictly because of that.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, you guys,
Because of that.
I'm out of here.
I'm gonna
Lovely.
go I'm gonna go have some pizza again.
All right, be good, guys.
All right, you knuckleheads. Good show.
Yeah.
See you later, guys.
Bye
All
bye.
right, take it easy. Bye.
Let's pray for the best.